She entered the wrong office and froze when the intern she asked for directions stood up as the CEO. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's dive into the story. It was just another day for Olivia. The early morning light spilled through the glass doors of the office building she had arrived at, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. She had been looking forward to this meeting for weeks. As she walked toward the building's entrance, her mind raced with thoughts of her presentation, her future career, and the possibility of making a lasting impression. She had heard so much about the company, its renowned CEO, and its cutting-edge innovations. She wasn't sure what exactly to expect, but she hoped that her ideas could contribute something valuable. Olivia had no idea, however, that this day would turn into something completely unexpected. As she entered the building's sleek lobby, she glanced around, trying to figure out where she was supposed to go. The modern design of the space, with its polished floors and minimalistic decor, gave her a sense of both awe and discomfort. She was used to smaller, cozier office spaces, not this high-end corporate environment. She approached the reception desk and was told to take the elevator up to the 30th floor. The elevator doors closed with a soft whoosh, and Olivia tried to calm her racing thoughts. She was not prepared for what awaited her when she stepped off the elevator. The hallway was long, illuminated by soft recessed lighting, leading her to an office with large, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. She checked the nameplate on the door, Intern Room. She knocked softly and entered, assuming this was where her appointment would take place. Inside, she saw a young man in his mid-20s sitting behind a desk, his head buried in a stack of papers. His dark hair was neatly combed, and he wore a simple but professional outfit, a shirt and tie. She cleared her throat and, with a nervous smile, asked, "Excuse me, could you help me? I'm looking for the CEO's office. I believe I'm in the wrong place." The young man looked up, startled by her presence. For a brief moment, they locked eyes. He seemed hesitant, as if he was deciding something in his mind. Then, to Olivia's surprise, he slowly stood up, brushing off his jacket, revealing his perfectly tailored suit underneath. The air seemed to shift. "I think you might be in the right place," he said, his voice calm, but with an authority that caught Olivia off guard. "I'm the CEO." Olivia froze. Her mouth went dry, and her heartbeat quickened. She had just asked directions from the CEO of the company, someone she thought was just an intern. How could she have missed it? His eyes, which had seemed so unassuming just moments before, now held a quiet power, one that was impossible to ignore. The realization hit her hard. She had no idea what to say. He smiled gently, watching her shock and discomfort with a hint of amusement. He wasn't bothered by her mistake. If anything, he seemed intrigued by it. After a long pause, he said, "It's all right. Everyone makes mistakes. You were just looking for directions, and I happen to be the one who can give them to you." Olivia's face flushed with embarrassment, but she couldn't help but feel a strange warmth in his words. She had expected to be dismissed or even scolded for her blunder, but instead, he was kind and understanding. Little did she know that this moment, this simple misunderstanding, was about to change the course of her life. Olivia stood there, her heart still racing from the shock. The man she had just mistaken for an intern was, in fact, the CEO of the entire company. She hadn't known what to expect when she'd walked in this morning, but certainly not this. She had come to meet someone from the lower ranks of the company to discuss a possible position, not expecting to walk right into the office of the most important man in the building. She tried to collect herself, but the embarrassment was almost overwhelming. She had assumed so many things, and now she had to face the reality of who he was. Liam, the CEO, smiled kindly at her as he walked around the desk. "You must be Olivia, right?" he asked, his tone warm and welcoming. "I was expecting someone like you." Olivia's eyes widened. "You were expecting me?" "Yes," he replied, still smiling. "I knew someone like you would walk through those doors sooner or later. You have the kind of spark we're looking for." Olivia stood there, frozen for a moment. She had no idea what he meant. She had never even heard of Liam Parker before today, let alone thought he would expect someone like her. He could have easily been dismissing her, or worse, scolding her for the mistake she'd made. But instead, he seemed genuine. He was looking at her like he truly cared about her potential. It made her feel strange, like she was standing in front of something much bigger than herself. "Come on in, let's talk," Liam said, gesturing toward the large glass desk behind him. He motioned to the chair across from it, and Olivia sat down slowly, still trying to wrap her head around everything that had just happened. The office was impressive. It was a perfect blend of modern design and professionalism, with large windows overlooking the city skyline. A sleek, minimalistic look, with just a few personal touches here and there. Olivia couldn't help but notice the contrast between the high-end, polished environment and the casual, welcoming attitude Liam had toward her. She felt small in this space, out of place, but she wasn't sure if it was because of the office or the man sitting across from her. He had a presence that was impossible to ignore. As she took a seat, Liam asked her to tell him a little about herself. She fumbled through her words at first, still thrown off by the sudden change of pace. I'm a waitress," she started. "But I've been working on a project for a while. I've always dreamed of starting my own studio. I want to do something that really means something." Liam leaned forward slightly, his interest piqued. "A studio? That's the kind of initiative we like here. I can tell you have big plans. But tell me this, why should I hire someone like you?" Olivia hesitated. The question was sharp, direct, but it wasn't harsh. He wasn't asking her to prove herself in the traditional way. It was more like he was asking her to explain why she believed in her own potential. She thought about it for a moment before replying. "Because I'm not afraid to take risks. I've been through a lot in my life, and I've learned that nothing is ever going to come easy. But that doesn't mean it's not worth trying for. I've seen what hard work can do, and I'm not afraid to give it my all, no matter what." Liam's smile grew a little wider, as if he were truly impressed by her response. "I like that," he said. "We need people who aren't afraid to push boundaries and take risks. People who understand what it means to really work hard, no matter where they start." The conversation shifted from there, with Liam asking about her experience, her goals, and what she hoped to achieve. It felt surreal to Olivia, sitting across from this powerful man, talking about her dreams and aspirations like they were on equal footing. As the conversation continued, the nerves slowly faded. Liam wasn't like the cold, calculating CEO she had imagined. He was open, engaged, and genuinely interested in what she had to say. He wasn't just focused on her background or qualifications. He was looking at who she was as a person, what motivated her, and whether she had the drive to succeed. By the time the meeting wrapped up, Olivia felt a sense of relief wash over her. The tension that had held her tight since she walked in had disappeared, replaced with a strange but growing feeling of hope. She didn't know where this conversation would lead, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she could be a part of something big. As she stood to leave, Liam stood up as well, holding out his hand. "Olivia, I can see your potential. I think you're going to go far here. Let's make this happen." She shook his hand, still processing everything. "Thank you, Liam," she said, feeling a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. As she walked out of the office, her mind was spinning. She had come in thinking this was just another meeting, another opportunity. But now, she was starting to wonder if her life was about to change forever. Olivia left the office with a mix of emotions swirling inside her. She had come to the building that morning expecting to meet someone from the company's lower ranks, someone she could impress with her ideas. But instead, she found herself in the presence of Liam Parker, the CEO. It was all so surreal. Walking through the sleek lobby, she felt like she was still in a dream, struggling to wrap her mind around the fact that the conversation she had just had was real. She could still feel the weight of his handshake, the warmth in his smile, and the quiet confidence he had shown. It was nothing like what she had expected from a CEO. He was approachable, kind, and genuinely interested in what she had to say. As she stepped outside into the cool air, she took a deep breath and tried to steady herself. The weight of her thoughts was overwhelming, but something deep down told her that she was on the verge of something big. The next few days passed by in a blur. Olivia found herself rethinking everything about her career, about her life, and what she wanted to achieve. She had always been determined, but now, more than ever, she felt like she had a real chance to make her mark. Liam had given her a glimmer of hope. She kept replaying his words in her mind. "I think you're going to go far here. It had been a while since anyone had looked at her with that kind of belief. It was something she didn't even realize she needed. She received a call from Liam's office a few days later. The assistant confirmed the details of the meeting and told her she had been selected to work directly under Liam's guidance for the next phase of the project she had discussed with him. She couldn't believe it. She had only met him once, and yet here she was, being trusted with something so important. The meeting was set for the following week. The night before, she couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, her mind racing with questions. What if she wasn't good enough? What if she messed it up? Liam had seen something in her, but what if it was all just a fluke? She tried to calm herself with deep breaths, but it was no use. Her nerves were too strong. The next morning, she dressed carefully, making sure everything was perfect. She wanted to look the part, to feel the part. She arrived at the office early, her heart in her throat as she stepped through the lobby doors once again. This time, she was different. She wasn't just an aspiring artist or a waitress with dreams. She was about to take a step into a world she never imagined for herself. When she entered Liam's office, he was already there, waiting for her. His presence was commanding, but the way he looked at her was full of warmth. "Olivia, I'm glad you could make it," he said, standing up and offering her a seat. As she sat down, he began to explain what the next phase would entail. She was to be part of a special team, working on a major project for the company. It was a big deal, and everyone involved was expected to bring their A game. "I see potential in you," Liam said as he leaned forward, his gaze unwavering. "You're not just here because you have a good idea. You're here because you have the drive to see it through, and that's what I respect. I want you to take ownership of this project." Olivia felt a rush of gratitude and excitement. She had worked so hard for this moment, and now it was finally within her grasp. But she also felt a twinge of doubt. Was she really ready? Could she handle the responsibility? Liam seemed to sense her hesitation. He leaned back in his chair, his eyes softening. "Olivia, I've been in your shoes. I know what it's like to doubt yourself. But you have something special. You've got the drive, the passion, and the creativity. That's all you need. The rest is just learning as you go." His words were comforting, but they also challenged her. She had to believe in herself, not just because Liam believed in her, but because she had earned this. The meeting went on, and the more they discussed the project, the more confident Olivia became. She could do this. She had to. By the time she left Liam's office, she felt like a new person. It was as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. The uncertainty that had plagued her was gone, replaced by a sense of purpose. She had a clear direction now, and it was time to prove herself. Liam had given her the opportunity she had always dreamed of, but now it was up to her to make it happen. As she walked out of the building, her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend, Jenny. "How did it go?" Olivia smiled as she typed out her response. "It went better than I could have ever imagined." She looked up at the sky, taking in a deep breath. The journey ahead was just beginning, and for the first time in a long time, she felt ready. Olivia couldn't help but feel a surge of energy as she walked into the office the following morning. It had only been a few days since her meeting with Liam, but everything already felt different. She was no longer the nervous woman who had walked into that building, unsure of herself and full of doubt. No, she was now part of something bigger. The project Liam had entrusted her with was a major step in her career, and she was ready to prove that he had made the right choice. As she settled into her new role, things quickly picked up speed. She found herself working late into the evenings, poring over details, making phone calls, and collaborating with other team members. The work was demanding, but Olivia thrived in the fast-paced environment. She felt like she was finally in the place where she could make a real impact. Still, it wasn't always easy. There were moments when she felt the weight of the responsibility pressing down on her. There were challenges she hadn't anticipated, moments when she felt like she was in over her head. But each time she faced a new obstacle, she reminded herself of Liam's words. "You have the drive, the passion, and the creativity." And so, she pushed through. As the days passed, Olivia began to notice something strange. Liam, who had seemed like the picture of calm and control during their first meeting, was now acting a bit differently around her. There was a subtle shift in his behavior, a slight hesitation when their eyes met, a quiet attention to her words when they spoke. At first, Olivia brushed it off. She had a job to do, and she wasn't going to get distracted. But it kept happening. Liam would stop by her desk, ask for updates, and lingered just a little longer than necessary. He'd ask about her progress and offer a small smile, one that made her feel like she was the only person in the room. One afternoon, after a particularly grueling meeting, Olivia found herself alone in the office, still working on some final details. She had planned to leave early for once, but she was determined to finish the task. Just as she was putting the finishing touches on her presentation, she heard a soft knock on the door. She looked up, startled, to see Liam standing in the doorway. "I thought you'd be gone by now," he said with a small, knowing smile. "I just wanted to check in, see how you were doing." Olivia smiled back, trying to hide the surprise she felt at his sudden appearance. "I'm doing fine," she replied, offering him a reassuring nod. "Just finishing up a few things." He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. "You're really dedicated, I'll give you that," he said, his voice softer than usual. He walked over to her desk, standing beside it as she continued working. "I just wanted to say, I'm impressed with everything you've done so far. You've really stepped up." Olivia's heart raced. She hadn't expected this kind of praise. "Thanks, Liam. I'm just doing my best," she said, her voice a little shaky. Liam looked at her, his eyes softening. "Your best is more than enough," he said. There was something in his gaze that made Olivia's breath catch. For a moment, they both stood there in silence, the only sound in the room the soft hum of the fluorescent lights. She could feel the tension between them, a quiet, unspoken connection. Just as Olivia was about to say something, Liam spoke again. "I've been meaning to ask you something, Olivia," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "How do you feel about working more closely with me? Not just on the project, but in a more personal capacity?" Olivia froze. She hadn't expected that. It wasn't just about the project anymore. He was asking her something else, something that was a little more complicated than she had anticipated. She looked up at him, trying to read his expression. His face was calm, but there was something in his eyes that made her stomach flip. She didn't know how to respond. Her thoughts raced. Was he offering something more than just professional support? Was this a test? She had no idea what to make of it. I'm not sure what you mean," Olivia said carefully, her voice betraying a hint of uncertainty. Liam smiled slightly, a warm, almost wistful smile. "I mean, we've been working together for a while now, and I think you have a lot to offer. I just wanted to know if you'd be open to taking on more responsibility, maybe even a bigger role in the company." Olivia felt her heart race. This wasn't just about the project anymore. This was about her future, her potential. But it was also about something else. The way Liam was looking at her made her feel like she was standing on the edge of something important, something life-changing. "I'd be honored," she said, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. Liam nodded, his eyes brightening. "I thought you might say that. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do." Olivia smiled, feeling a strange sense of pride and excitement. She had come so far in such a short amount of time. And now, it seemed like she had the chance to go even further. As Liam left the room, she sat there for a moment, her thoughts swirling. What had just happened? Was this just a professional offer, or was there more to it? She didn't know, but one thing was clear. Her life was changing, and it was changing in ways she hadn't expected. She had a lot to think about, but for now, all she could do was take a deep breath and move forward. Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between her and Liam. The conversation they had the previous evening left her with more questions than answers. She had agreed to take on a larger role within the company, but there was a part of her that wondered if it was all just professional, or if there was something more beneath the surface. The next few weeks were a blur of meetings, late-night work sessions, and constant pressure to meet deadlines. Olivia threw herself into the project, determined to prove that she was more than capable. But with every success came an increasing tension between her and Liam. It wasn't anything overt, just small moments, glances that lingered a little too long, and a subtle shift in the way he interacted with her. At first, Olivia dismissed it. After all, she was working closely with him on a major project, and it made sense that they would develop a rapport. But then came the night of the charity gala. It was an event the company had been planning for months, and Olivia had been working hard to help organize it. As she stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her dress, she realized this was the first time she'd ever been invited to such an event. She had always been the one watching from the sidelines, but tonight, she would be walking in as someone who had earned her place. Her mind kept racing, but she couldn't deny the excitement that bubbled up inside her. This was her moment to show the world, especially Liam, that she was more than capable of handling whatever came her way. When she arrived at the venue, the sight of the grand ballroom took her breath away. It was opulent, with sparkling chandeliers hanging from the high ceiling, and the crowd of influential guests buzzed with excitement. Olivia felt a wave of nerves hit her, but she quickly pushed it aside. She was here for a reason. She belonged. As she made her way through the crowd, she couldn't help but scan the room for Liam. She spotted him across the room, standing near the stage, surrounded by a group of executives. His sharp suit and confident posture made him stand out from the crowd. When he caught sight of her, his face softened, and he excused himself from the group, making his way toward her. "Olivia," he said, his voice warm as he approached. "You look stunning." She smiled, trying to hide the sudden flutter of nerves in her stomach. "Thank you, Liam. It's a bit overwhelming, honestly." Liam chuckled softly, his eyes never leaving hers. "I can imagine. But you belong here. I wouldn't have asked you to be a part of this if I didn't believe in you." His words sent a wave of warmth through her chest, and for a moment, it felt like the rest of the world faded away. They were standing there, in the middle of the most important event of the year, and it felt like they were the only two people in the room. "You've done amazing work," Liam continued, his tone serious now. "And tonight is just the beginning." Olivia nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "I'm just doing my best," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. He gave her a small, encouraging smile. "Your best is more than enough." The night went on, with Olivia finding herself at the center of the event, handling last-minute details and making sure everything ran smoothly. She was doing it. She was succeeding. And yet, as the evening wore on, a feeling she couldn't quite shake started to settle in. It wasn't just the pressure of the event or the responsibilities she had taken on. It was Liam. There was something about the way he looked at her, something that went beyond the professional admiration. Every time their eyes met, she felt a connection, something more than just colleagues working together. As the gala drew to a close, Liam found her again, this time near the exit. The crowd had begun to thin out, and the noise of the evening was slowly dying down. "I need to talk to you," he said, his voice low and urgent. Olivia's heart skipped a beat. "What's going on?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. Liam looked around briefly before meeting her gaze again. "It's about the project. About us." His words made her pulse quicken, but she didn't know what to say. She had suspected there was more to this, but hearing him confirm it made everything feel more real. "I think you're incredible, Olivia," Liam continued, his voice barely above a whisper. "And not just because of the work you've done. There's something about you. Something I haven't felt in a long time." Olivia froze. His words were unexpected, and yet they made her heart race. She had never thought of Liam in that way, not consciously, at least. But now, hearing him speak so openly, she felt like everything had changed. "Liam, She didn't know what to say. The tension between them was palpable, the air thick with unspoken feelings. He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. "You don't have to say anything, Olivia. I just wanted you to know." And then, before she could say another word, he leaned in slightly, his gaze locked with hers. For a moment, everything seemed to stand still. She was lost in his eyes, caught between what she felt and what she should do. And then, just as quickly as it had started, the moment passed. Liam stepped back, his expression softening. "We'll talk more about this later," he said, giving her a final, searching look. Olivia watched him walk away, her thoughts spinning. She had no idea what was happening between them, but one thing was certain. This night had changed everything. She could feel it deep inside her. She was no longer just a part of the company. She was a part of something else now, something far more complicated, and she didn't know what to do with it. Olivia spent the next few days in a daze. The words Liam had said to her at the gala replayed in her mind over and over. There was no denying the connection between them, but she didn't know how to handle it. She had come to the company to work, to make something of herself, not to get caught up in a complicated relationship. Yet, as each day passed, she found herself thinking about him more and more. It wasn't just his professional demeanor or his role as CEO. It was the way he looked at her, the warmth in his gaze, the way his voice softened when he spoke to her. She had never imagined someone like him, someone so powerful, so confident, would feel the same pull she did. And yet, He had made it clear that there was something more between them. But what did that mean? As the week went on, Olivia focused on her work, keeping her head down and trying to ignore the growing tension between her and Liam. She knew she couldn't afford to let anything distract her. The project was progressing well, and she was starting to feel like she had earned her place in the company. Yet, every time she saw Liam in the hallway or heard his voice over the intercom, her heart would race, and she would feel that familiar flutter in her chest. One afternoon, as she was finishing up a meeting with the design team, she received an unexpected message from Liam. "Can we talk later?" it said, simple and direct. Olivia's stomach twisted. She had known this moment would come, but she wasn't sure if she was ready for it. She had been avoiding him, keeping things strictly professional, but she knew that wasn't going to work forever. She couldn't keep pretending that nothing was happening between them. At 5 o'clock, Olivia found herself outside his office. She hesitated for a moment, standing there, unsure if she was making the right decision. But before she could second-guess herself, the door opened, and Liam stepped out. His expression was unreadable, but the moment their eyes met, a silent understanding passed between them. He motioned for her to follow him into his office. "I'm glad you could come," he said, his voice calm, but with an edge of anticipation. "I wanted to talk to you about something important." Olivia nodded, unsure of what to expect. She had no idea where this conversation would lead, but she knew it was time to face whatever was between them. Liam gestured to the chairs by the window, and they both sat down. The office was quiet, the only sound the soft hum of the city outside. Liam leaned forward slightly, his gaze never leaving hers. "I've been thinking about us," he said, his voice steady but with an underlying intensity. "I think we need to have an honest conversation about where this is going." Olivia's heart skipped a beat. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. She had hoped he would make the first move, but now that the moment had arrived, she felt uncertain. "Liam, she started, but her voice trailed off. She didn't know what to say. She had never been in a situation like this before. He smiled gently, as if understanding her hesitation. "I know this is complicated," he said, "but I want to be honest with you. I care about you, Olivia, more than just as a colleague, more than just as someone I work with." His words hit her like a wave, and for a moment, she couldn't breathe. She had known something was building between them, but hearing him say it out loud made it all too real. "Liam, I care about you too," she whispered, the words escaping before she could stop them. She had been trying to keep her feelings in check, trying to focus on her work, but it was impossible. The connection between them was undeniable. Liam took a deep breath, as if weighing his next words carefully. "I don't want to complicate things for you," he said, "but I also don't want to ignore what's happening between us. I think we owe it to ourselves to explore this, to see where it could go." Olivia's mind was spinning. She had come to the company with one goal in mind, to prove herself, to make a name for herself in a world that had always seemed out of reach. But now, here she was, standing at a crossroads, unsure of what to do next. "What are you saying?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam's gaze softened, and he reached out to take her hand. "I'm saying that I want us to figure this out. Together. But only if you're willing to take that step with me." Olivia's heart raced as she looked at him, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. She had never been one to take risks, but this was different. She had spent so much of her life playing it safe, staying in her comfort zone. But now, she realized that she couldn't keep living like that. She wanted more. She wanted to know what it felt like to truly take a chance, to step into the unknown and see where it led. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Okay," she said, her voice steady and sure. "Let's see where this goes." Liam smiled, his eyes lighting up with relief and something deeper, something more personal. "Thank you," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. "I know this isn't easy, but I believe in us." Olivia smiled back, feeling a sense of peace wash over her. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was on the right path. She was ready to take the leap. Together, the weeks that followed were a whirlwind for Olivia. After their conversation at the gala, she and Liam had agreed to take things slow, to explore their connection while still maintaining their professional boundaries. But as much as they tried to keep things separate, the lines between work and personal life started to blur. Olivia found herself thinking about him all the time, during meetings, when she was working late, even in the quiet moments before she fell asleep. She couldn't help it. There was something about him, Something in the way he made her feel both seen and appreciated. The energy between them was undeniable. As they continued working together, the tension between them only grew. There were moments when their eyes would meet across the conference table, and Olivia would feel a flutter in her chest. A glance from Liam would send a rush of warmth through her, but every time, she would quickly look away, reminding herself that this was a professional setting, and that she had to stay focused on the work. But as much as she tried to ignore it, the attraction was there. And it wasn't just the physical connection. Olivia had come to realize that it was the emotional bond between them that made everything so complicated. Liam had opened up to her about his past, about his struggles and his fears. She had seen a side of him that no one else had, and it made her feel closer to him. And yet, as the days passed, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. There was a constant tug-of-war in her mind. She had come to the company with one goal: to prove herself, to make a name for herself in a world that had always felt out of reach. But now, she was starting to wonder if she was losing herself in something that wasn't as simple as she had imagined. Was she falling for Liam because he was the CEO, because of the power he held, or because of the person he truly was? That question haunted her, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to face the answer. It all came to a head one evening, after a long day of meetings. Olivia had stayed late, working on a new proposal for the project they had been working on. She was exhausted, mentally drained, but determined to finish the task. As she packed up her things to leave, she heard a soft knock at the door. She looked up to see Liam standing there, his figure framed by the doorway. He looked just as tired as she felt, but there was a softness in his eyes. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice low. Olivia nodded, unsure of what to expect. She had been waiting for this moment, but now that it was here, she wasn't sure she was ready. "Of course," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. He leaned against the desk, his eyes not leaving hers. "I've been thinking a lot about us," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. Olivia's heart skipped a beat. She knew this was coming, but she hadn't prepared herself for it. "Liam, she started, but the words caught in her throat. "I know it's complicated," he said, cutting her off gently. "But I can't keep pretending that I don't care about you. More than I should." His words sent a jolt through her chest. She had been waiting for him to say something like this, but hearing him finally say it out loud made everything feel so real. "I've been trying to ignore it," he continued, stepping closer to her. "Trying to keep things professional. But every time I see you, every time we work together, I can't help but feel something more. I don't want to lose that, Olivia. I don't want to lose what we have." Olivia felt a lump form in her throat. She had spent so much time trying to keep her distance, to focus on her career, but now it felt impossible. She had let herself get too close to him, and now she was falling for him. She could feel it in her bones. "I care about you too," she whispered, finally allowing the words to spill out. Liam's eyes softened, and he reached out, gently taking her hand in his. "I want us to be together, Olivia, but I don't want to make this difficult for you. I don't want to put any pressure on you. I just want to be honest about how I feel." Olivia looked down at their joined hands, the warmth of his touch sending a wave of calm through her. "I don't know if I'm ready," she said, her voice shaky. "I've never been in a situation like this before, and I don't want to lose myself in something that could jeopardize my career." Liam nodded, his grip tightening slightly. "I understand," he said softly. "But I promise you, I'm not asking you to choose between me and your career. I believe in you, Olivia. I believe in your talent, in your drive. I want to support you, no matter what." The words hung in the air, and for the first time in weeks, Olivia felt like the weight she had been carrying lifted just a little. She still wasn't sure what the future held, but hearing Liam's words made her feel like she didn't have to carry the burden alone. She didn't have to choose. As she looked up at him, she realized that what mattered most wasn't the fear of losing herself, but the possibility of finding something real. "Okay," she said, her voice steady now. "Let's see where this goes." Liam smiled, a small but genuine smile, and for the first time in a long time, Olivia felt like she was finally ready to take a step forward, not just in her career, but in her heart as well. The days following their conversation felt like a turning point for Olivia. The weight of their unspoken feelings had finally been addressed, but now she found herself grappling with the complexities of what it all meant. She had never been in a relationship that was so intertwined with her career, and the challenge of balancing both was becoming more difficult. She had always prided herself on her independence, on her ability to make her own way in the world, but Liam had changed the dynamics of everything. The quiet moments between them were no longer just professional. There was a shift in the air when they spoke, a warmth that lingered in the room. Olivia wasn't sure what to make of it, but she couldn't deny that her feelings for him had grown stronger. And yet, the reality of their situation kept pressing in. There were moments when she would catch herself wondering if this was truly the right decision. She had worked so hard to get to where she was, and now she was mixing business with pleasure. Was it worth the risk? She couldn't help but think about the future, about how things would change once they moved beyond the professional relationship they had built. Olivia had been busy preparing for an important presentation when she received an unexpected invitation. It was from Liam, and it was an offer that she had to think carefully about. He had planned a business trip to an important conference in New York and wanted her to come along to assist with the presentation. It was an opportunity that could make a huge difference for her, an opportunity to prove herself even more in front of some of the company's top executives. But the invitation was also a reminder of the growing tension between them. Would this trip bring them closer together, or would it complicate things even more? Olivia spent the night thinking it over, weighing the professional benefits against the personal stakes. The next morning, she made her decision. She would go. She couldn't pass up the chance to take her career to the next level, even if it meant stepping into the unknown with Liam. The flight to New York was filled with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Olivia was sitting beside Liam on the plane, but the space between them felt larger than it should have. They talked briefly about the details of the trip, about what she would need to prepare for the conference. But there was an underlying tension neither of them seemed willing to acknowledge. Olivia kept her mind focused on the task at hand, determined not to let personal feelings get in the way of her career. When they arrived in New York, the city's energy was palpable, and the conference was everything Olivia had hoped for. She was surrounded by industry leaders, all of whom seemed to be watching her every move. She did her best to stay composed, presenting her ideas with confidence, answering questions with ease. But even as she nailed every moment, there was a nagging thought in the back of her mind. What would happen once the presentation was over? What would happen when they were back in the quiet of their hotel room, away from the business world? As the evening approached, Olivia found herself standing by the window of their hotel room, looking out over the city. The lights twinkled below, and the noise of the city felt distant, almost calming. Liam entered the room, holding a bottle of wine. "Thought we could celebrate," he said with a smile. Olivia turned to face him, her heart racing slightly. The professional barrier between them had always been clear, until now. As they sat down to celebrate her success, the conversation shifted from business to more personal topics. They talked about their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. The more they shared, the more Olivia realized how much she had in common with him. He wasn't just the CEO, he was a man with his own vulnerabilities, his own insecurities. And that made him all the more real to her. As the evening went on, the connection between them deepened. They shared stories, laughed over small jokes, and for a brief moment, the world outside their hotel room didn't exist. Olivia felt the tension that had been building between them finally starting to dissipate. It felt natural, easy, and for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine what a relationship with Liam could be like. Just as she was starting to let her guard down, Liam stood up, walking over to where Olivia was standing by the window. He reached out, gently touching her arm, and for a moment, they simply stood there, staring out at the city together. The moment felt suspended in time. And then, without warning, Liam turned to her, his expression soft but serious. "Olivia," he said, his voice low, "there's something I need to tell you." Her heart skipped a beat, her mind racing. Was this it? Was he about to say what she had been dreading, what she had feared all along? That this was just a fleeting connection, something that would fade away once the trip was over? She held her breath, waiting for him to speak. "I'm not just asking you to be a part of this company," Liam continued, his eyes locking with hers. "I'm asking you to be a part of my life." Olivia's breath caught in her throat. For a moment, she couldn't find the words. She had known this was coming, but hearing him say it out loud felt like a dream. She turned to face him fully, her heart pounding in her chest. "Liam," she whispered, "I don't know what to say." He smiled softly, taking her hand in his. You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know how I feel." The moment stretched out between them, and for the first time, Olivia allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, this was more than just a professional relationship. Maybe it was the beginning of something real. The days after their conversation in New York were both a blur and a dream come true for Olivia. The distance between them that had once seemed so vast now felt non-existent. As they continued working together, it became clear to her that this wasn't just a fleeting moment. It was something real. Liam's words, so simple and honest, kept echoing in her mind. "I'm asking you to be a part of my life." She hadn't known how to respond at first, but now, with each passing day, she realized that she was already deeply involved in his life, and he in hers. Their connection had moved beyond just professional respect. It was mutual understanding, trust, and something far more personal than Olivia had ever imagined. They were not just colleagues. They were partners in the truest sense of the word. Their relationship blossomed quietly. They kept it discreet at first, focusing on their work, but there were still moments, small, subtle moments, that made Olivia's heart flutter. A look across the conference table that lingered just a second too long. A soft smile when no one was watching. A hand that brushed against hers in the hallway, sending an unspoken message. As they spent more time together, their bond deepened. Their discussions about the project became more than just strategy sessions. They shared their hopes, their fears, and their vulnerabilities. Liam, the CEO with a reputation for being unapproachable, was now someone who trusted her with his thoughts, his plans, and his past. He opened up about the challenges he had faced in building the company, the sacrifices he had made, and the loneliness that came with being at the top. Olivia, in turn, shared her own struggles, the constant pressure to prove herself, the fear of failure, and the weight of her own dreams. They connected on a level that went beyond business. One evening, as they were wrapping up a meeting, Liam asked Olivia to stay behind. She had gotten used to their late-night discussions, but this one felt different. As the last of the staff trickled out of the office, Liam turned to her with a serious look in his eyes. "Olivia," he began, "I want you to know how much I value what you've brought to this company, and how much I value you as a person." Her heart skipped a beat. "I'm not just talking about your work, but about who you are." Olivia smiled softly, her heart swelling with a mix of gratitude and affection. "I've never met anyone like you, Liam," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You've made me believe in myself more than I ever thought possible." He reached across the desk, his hand gently covering hers. "That's what I want for you," he said, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "To believe in yourself, to go after what you deserve." His words resonated deeply with her. They weren't just about the project they were working on. They were about her future, about what she was capable of achieving, not just for the company, but for herself. "You've already done that, Olivia," Liam continued, his thumb lightly brushing over her hand. "You've shown me that you're not just a talented professional, but a person who has something real to offer. And I want to be there for you, through everything." Olivia felt a lump form in her throat. This was it. This was the moment she had been waiting for. The moment when she allowed herself to truly feel everything she had been holding back. The fear, the doubt, the hesitation, it all melted away. She wasn't just here to prove herself to Liam or anyone else. She was here because she had earned her place, and because she had someone who believed in her. She had someone who saw her, truly saw her, for who she was. "Liam, I don't know what the future holds," Olivia said, her voice steady but emotional. "But I know that I want to be a part of it, with you. Not just in work, but in everything." Liam smiled, the warmth in his eyes making her heart flutter. "Then let's see where this journey takes us," he said. Together, as they stood there, in the quiet office with the city lights flickering outside, Olivia knew that her life had just taken a turn she hadn't expected. It wasn't just about the company anymore. It wasn't just about the work. It was about the future, about their shared dreams, and about what they could build together. And for the first time in a long time, Olivia felt at peace with the path ahead. It wasn't going to be easy, but she was ready for whatever came next. She wasn't just taking a chance on Liam. She was taking a chance on herself. And that was the greatest leap of all.